the gold. It could be too far. No, he's kicking. Oh, what a catch!
Puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Darren Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Huckin podcast. I'm Danie Proby, and you might notice that I'm doing the intro today instead of Theo Wan because Theo is currently at CUC Adults, and he's commentating, so he's quite busy. Normally, he flies solo when one of us is busy, but it's my turn. But I'm not completely alone. I am joined here by Mr. Rob Grundy, so it's a privilege. It's an honor. Can you introduce yourself better than I could?
I don't know. Maybe I can. I'll try. So I'm Rob. I'm from Toronto, so I guess I'm filling Theo's Toronto seat for the day. I have been coaching with the Toronto Elite system since 2014, and the Toro boys since 2018 in that group. And then I was just got back from Poland as an assistant coach with TC Open U20s.
That's a perfect segue. Thank you so much. So can you think off the top of your head one specific moment, experience, or something that really stood out to you as something you'll kind of keep with you as a win or a highlight or something from that experience? Because I know it's long and there's a lot of emotions and ups and downs along the way, but is there anything kind of key that sticks out for you?
Poland was a really fun experience. The group of boys we had on the open side was just such a cohesive unit, and they really pulled for each other. And I don't know that I've worked with a team that's been as tight as that. And I think that's all the more remarkable because, you know, we had like 6 days of training before we got to Poland, and then we had this just like awesome group of humans to work with. So that's something I'm going to hold on to. I think is the vibe of the group and how much they just like wanted to be successful together.
Yeah, I guess what surprised me about your group, surprised me. Well, Karen and I have our room like kind of in the foyer area, and I was just so delighted how many of the people on your team would come by and just like chat with us, and we're just always so polite. The amount of like good morning Karen and Danie we got from your guys was like a lot more than I was expecting. So definitely had a good group. It was really fun to watch them all play, and they're very loud in the mornings though, which was kind of annoying. So
that speaker was so loud.
Yeah, it is true. But
that was part of how they got themselves up to play. So you let them do to each their own, I guess, right?
For sure. All right. So not only are Worlds back, but also a much bigger, much more important tournament, which is CUC Juniors, obviously.
Definitely.
So,
we're so happy to be back.
We're happy to be back. It's been so long. These kids need this. The sport needs it. We've been noticing such a big drop off in athlete participation because when you don't have like the holy grail or the big event to kind of train for, to go to, a lot of people lose interest. So CUC's being back in action this year is super important. Is there anything that you're specifically excited for with this event? I know you're going to be there.
I'm looking forward to being there. The whole TC experience this spring was like my first tournaments since 2019, and just I'm really excited to have that be like my program and getting it back to, you know, being at nationals. And our Toronto program got really hit hard by the COVID lockdowns, and so just we put a lot of work into just being able to come. And so I'm really excited for the kids to have a chance to come and play and just have like what feels like a regular Frisbee experience. Cause I know we've been missing that, and it's just so much fun for everybody. So I'm just looking forward to like the event happening.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of follow along. unfortunately, I won't be able to be there. I've just been away too much this summer, so I wasn't able to go. I was going to go commentate with Theo, and alas, I just couldn't be away from my dog or my partner for any longer. So I will have to live vicariously through you and through the internet.
We'll send updates. We'll send lots of updates.
Please do. So you are an expert in this tournament. You showed me a spreadsheet you had with like results from the past. Like, you care about this stuff. So you are actually the perfect person to have on this podcast right now. So we're going to start with the open division, but so can you explain to me how the seeding works, how the pools work kind of thing? Because I know in years past, all the teams just kind of be seeded 1 to 16, 1 to 20 or whatever. And some teams would just have a really rough experience the whole time. So can you explain to me the change and how that's going to be working this year?
Sure. This is the same format that we've been using since, I think it's 2017 in Ottawa that we switched it. I say we as if I did that. It was Ultimate Canada. But the format basically, instead of having equal pools where everyone goes into pool play and just has like an equal shot at moving into the bracket, this sets up almost like it's a pre-set up power pool. So this is the same for both the open and the women's division. Pools A and B are the top 8 seeds, and they play their regular pool play. And then pool C and D are the next 8. And for the girls, that's the whole tournament. For the boys, there's one more pool after that. But pool C and D are the next 8, so 9 to 16. And then, like I say, pool E in the boys division is seed 17 to 20. And then pool play happens just like usual. In the top 2 pools, pool A and B, the top 2 teams move on to crossovers. They play the same finisher, so like 1v1 from the equivalent opposite pool, and they go straight into the quarters, and that sets their seeding for the bracket 1 to 4. Seeds 3 and 4 finishers 3 and 4 from A and B will play finishers 1 and 2 from pool C and D, and that's basically your pre-quarters. So the winners of those games go into the bracket, and then the bottom 2 finishers in both pool C and pool D will play crossovers with pool E, and the winners of those will go into the 9 to 12 bracket that'll happen, and teams that lose those bottom crossovers will play as a pool of 4 to wrap up their tournament.
Sweet. And the reason for doing this, I assume, is so that a team that's developmental from a region that doesn't normally send a team doesn't just get like kicked around by BC and Ontario's top teams and stuff, to kind of at least try to make the amount of meaningful games a little bit higher for those teams. And what I like about it is that, say, team from BC number 3 is actually like a top performing team, but they might be in a lower pool. They have the opportunity to be able to still make it into quarters. I like that there is a crossover game that happens, because I had an experience, I believe it was in 2018, where my team lost in our regional tournament based on like people being away on vacation and stuff. They lost to the team below us and ended up in the bottom, but we were able to work our way back from the bottom back up, and we ended up finishing, I believe, 6th place. So I really like the format for that. And I think it allows for, I mean, we don't know. You don't know how the teams in BC are going to stack up against Winnipeg and how they're going to stack up against Toronto and Ottawa, etc. So it allows for a little bit of flexibility, I guess. And I just think it's really, really helpful. And I don't know if you have any different thoughts than that, than my rant.
No, I think that's exactly it, right? The whole point was to try and give all teams more competitive games, because 15-2 games aren't fun for either side, and from a junior perspective, just as much we're looking at development, and I don't think there's a lot of development that happens in those games. So to have the opportunity to have games that are more likely to be competitive, and it also reduces the impact of seeding, because it means like we typically have a ballpark of where teams will fit. in the same way that you do in adults. But like, we, instead of doing the random draw, there's still seeding in the juniors, but it still allows for some movement within the division.
Yeah. Okay. Without further ado, I'm just going to list off the top 8 teams in the open division, and then we can we're going to go pool by pool. But for our top 8, the seeding, take it for what it is. There's very little information to go off of. These teams are only really playing teams in their own region. So the number 1 seed to start the tournament, we have Eclipse from BC, Ignite, and that is from Ottawa. We have Mofo from Winnipeg, Stud from Ontario. Is Stud Durham? Where is Stud?
Yeah, so they're from Durham region, which is just east of Toronto. Excellent. It's kind of like Vortex is close to Vancouver, but not quite.
Right. That helps me. Thank you. And we have Origin, which is from Quebec City. Vortex, the Burnaby, Surrey from BC. Canyon, also from BC, but from the North Shore, North Vancouver. And then Toro. Where's that? Where are they from again?
I don't know, like some little town in southern Ontario. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Probably not. And okay.
Toronto.
Toronto. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it unusual for Toronto to be seated 8th?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
We had a hiccup at regionals and lost a Stud in the semis, so we finished 3rd. And I guess we'll probably get into this later, but obviously our goal is to beat seed.
Yeah, I think you can do it.
That's the hope.
That's the hope. All right. So in Pool A, we have Eclipse, Stud, Origin, and Toro. And so I know you've been kind of talking a little bit about how these teams have done in years past. Is there any games in this pool that you think will be interesting? Do you think there's going to be any potential upsets happening? Obviously, I think you are hoping for an upset here.
So I think this is an interesting pool because of the TC boys who are playing at CUCs. I think it's 5 of them are in this pool, and there's one Elliot who's playing with Fringants, who's in Pool D. But we've got this big glut of TC guys all in the same pool, and it means we get to have our own little reunion party in pool play. But that means I think the obvious spicy matchup is Toro versus Eclipse in the first round, because not only do you have player matchups, but you also have coach matchups because it's me and Alex. So we've got like the reunion party, and I think it's a good measuring stick for both teams. I don't know. I heard in Poland a lot of hype around Eclipse, and it'll be interesting to see if they measure up. And Toro certainly is coming in feeling like we need to prove that regionals was not reflective of our team. So I think that's a really good first game to get under our belts and kick things off.
Yeah, we were very lucky in Vancouver. I know we've talked about this on the podcast before, where we were able to basically train the entire time. And you'll see a lot of the people on this Eclipse roster were all people that took training throughout the pandemic really seriously. So I expect the team to be quite deep, but Toro always has some tricks under their sleeves. So I'll be definitely tuning into that.
My lips are sealed.
All right, no worries. And I know Alex Lamb's tricks now, so.
I know. I you know what? I think he's got stuff that he's kept under the vest. Uh-huh. He's a crafty guy.
Yes, he is indeed. All right, for Pool B, we have Ignite, Mofo, Vortex, and then Canyon. So Canyon is definitely, it's their first time as Canyon coming to this tournament. Normally this program is Bonfire, but it's been a rebrand. It's kind of a new core group organizing it. So they're a bit of an unknown at this moment. Vortex is typically quite scrappy. They play with a lot of fire and intensity, and Mofo usually just a bunch of athletes that put up big hucks.
Yep.
And Ignite, I feel like Ottawa has been doing things right during the pandemic. They didn't have as many restrictions as Toronto. And so I think they've been really focusing on training and working on their fundamental skills. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this pool. Any spicy matchups that you're looking forward to?
Well, I think there's a good BC rematch. I think those guys played each other at regionals, so an exciting moment for them to come back in pool play and get another crack at each other. And then I think Ignite's going to be a good team. They, like you said, they had a lot of opportunity to train. They had a program that ran basically all last summer. They went to Quebec regionals last year.
Yes.
And they went to a tournament in May in the States. So like this is a group that's been together for a long time. And they always show well at Nats. They come prepared. They're ready to go. So I don't know. I didn't get to see them at regionals because that was happening at the same time as No Border. So I'm kind of excited to find out how they stack up. And Mofo is always an exciting crew. And again, also complete unknown to me right now because it's it's a new year and we haven't seen them since 2019.
I think they were in a similar kind of tough spot that Toronto was in, as what I've heard anyway. Weren't able to train, or like just going through some crazy weather stuff all the time. I feel like they've been kind of really struggling to get long seasons happening. So definitely,
I still have a lot of faith that they'll have good athletes who come in and challenge everybody. And
right.
I think in general, that's probably something we're going to see at this tournament is teams where maybe some of the like finer points that we might have seen in other years will be maybe not as refined as usual, just because we've had less time and less competitive opportunities for the athletes to improve at.
Yeah, it's going to be, I wish I could swear, it's going to be a shoot show for sure. We don't have to believe that. So
I just bet that whatever the seating is going to be completely different, because it usually is. But this year I feel like it's a total shot in the dark. And so we'll see. Yeah. You never know.
I will make some predictions later, so we'll keep that under wraps. Right now, so those are the top 8, those 2 pools. Now, the next 8, we have Pool C and Pool D. So we'll talk about Pool C first. We have Helios, which comes from the Kamloops, kind of Kelowna region of BC. It's a new team. They kind of came out of nowhere in the last couple of years. They're kind of like, they give me the Mofo vibes. Like, they're big athletes. They like to play kind of like the big ball, which is super exciting. And we have Titan from Montreal, Scorch from Ottawa, and then Wheaties from Saskatchewan. So other than Helios, I don't know much about these teams. So I'm curious kind of if you have any insights or anything that you're excited for Pool C.
Well, Scorch is the Ottawa like second team, and they always produce guys who move on to Ignite. Titan has never not finished in the top 8, so I've got my eye on them. I think they're officially seated 12th, but like I say, I think seating's a bit of a guesswork this year. So part of me wonders if that's just something where they'll come to nationals and show everybody that they should have been seated higher.
Yeah. All right.
And I'm excited to see a new team. Like seeing Helios, that's like a totally new program to the national scene. And, it's great seeing new cities arrive at Nats.
Yeah. We sometimes see rebranding of old cities. So this is a completely new area, which is very, very exciting. For Pool D, we have Mischief out of Vancouver, the number 2 team, Manitou, the second team coming out of Winnipeg, Fréjance from Sherbrooke, and we have Storm from Newfoundland and Labrador. Anything saucy here?
Well, we've got Elliot, who plays on Fringance, who was on the TC Open team, and so I kind of go like, juniors is one of those places where sometimes one player can make a huge difference. Yes. And so I've got my eye on Fringance as a team that maybe can bounce their way up there. And I don't know, Mischief is always strong. They always challenge for the crossovers and being in the top 8. So I always keep my eye on what they're up to.
Now, finally, Pool E. So these are the people that they can't make it into the top 8, correct?
That's correct.
They can reach up to 9th, even though they're kind of in the bottom 17-20 or whatever it is. So
yeah, and I'll give Ultimate Canada credit when the first version of the Junior Open schedule came out. This pool sort of fed into a bracket that peaked at 13, and they reworked the schedule because I assume they got feedback that seemed a little bit like a hard sell for people to come all the way to Brampton and then be told you don't even have a shot at finishing in the top half of the tournament. So I think it was the right call to switch that setup up and give these teams a chance to show what they're made of.
Yeah. So we have Uproar, Reign. So Reign's from Richmond, Uproar is from Toronto. We have Spitfire from Winnipeg and Blaze from Ottawa. So we're kind of dipping into like the second and third teams in these regions. Reign is another BC team in the Lower Mainland. A lot of the Richmond players end up going to play Eclipse if they're top players, or even Mischief. So it's technically a number one team out of Richmond, but it's kind of like a BC,
like a development
4, 5, 6. Yes, a little bit more in the development section. So do you expect any of these teams to crack into the 9-10 spots, or are you? I know you're not really wanting to say too much, but
I think historically the teams that get seeded here don't do that.
Yeah,
but you never know.
You know,
that's one of the, again, this year especially, you never quite know what we're going to get. But for a lot of these teams, this is the come to nationals for the experience and the opportunity to play competitive games against other people who aren't the ones in your city or your region. And, in a lot of cases, they'll be back next year or for the next 3 years. And so they'll have lots of opportunities ahead of them.
Agreed. So I'll make a couple predictions because I'm not coaching in this division, and then you're going to stay quiet. Maybe you can laugh at my predictions. That would be fine. But I'm going to be pretty boring. I'm a big believer in the training that's been happening in the kind of off seasons. And so I definitely think it's going to be Ignite versus Eclipse in the final. And I'm a homer for life. And so I think Eclipse is going to take it. But I think it's going to be closer than Eclipse wants. So that's my final
there's
prediction.
The take.
It's a bit of a take.
So that's a 2019 rematch too.
I know, we love it. We love that.
That was the gold medal game the last time that's happened.
And then Ignite back then was kind of like the tournament sweetheart, because I feel like everyone was a bit surprised that they were in the finals.
They were an 8 seed.
Yeah. Oh, that must make you feel good that it's possible.
Right. Let's go do it again.
Well, okay. So I think, Eclipse Ignite in the final. I also expect that Helios will move up from Pool C, and I think that Mischief will also move up. And I think Canyon's going to move down. This is a prediction I'll make, and they can come at me if they want. Come for me. Okay, so disclaimer, everyone who's listening to this. Whenever we don't vouch for your team, those teams end up using it and like chanting mine and Theo's names in their cheers. And they end up doing better because no one believes in them. So if we don't believe in you, it's really a gift for you and your team. So I just want to put that out there. Sorry to Canyon. Also sorry to Toro. But I'm gonna say you're gonna drop it just to be spicy with you, Rob.
Ooh.
Are we still friends?
We'll talk.
Yeah. I know that you weren't with them at regionals, so maybe you are the key to their success, and thus they'll be successful in nationals. But that is my spicy take for the open division. Do you have any takes you're willing to put out there?
I think I got to keep my mouth shut on this one. I don't want to get myself into trouble here.
Amazing. Do you have any?
But I'll stick with Toro. Toro's plan is to break seed and finish higher than 8th.
Okay, I'll hold you to that. Do you have any players to watch either on your team or other teams, kind of that you know of? Obviously, the TC kids. There's like 5.
I mean, realistically, they're the only ones I really know a lot about.
Yeah.
But like Eclipse has 3 of them, and they're all ballers. So watch out for Ryan Louis Ying, Aidan McKibben, and Bryn McCall. And I don't know, they're good players.
Yeah, I've known all three of them since they were scrubby little grade 8 and 9s, rolling up to Elevate sessions, being super bratty. Actually, that's not true. Ryan and Aiden were both like really shy and polite, but Bryn was a little bit of a brat. But then they all turned into really good Ultimate players. So,
and they're wonderful humans.
They are.
And I can vouch for the fact that they are not scrawny or small now.
No, they're not. Puberty is funny.
Very not that.
Okay. Excellent. Anything else about the open division before we move on to the women's division?
I think I'm all good.
Okay. Excellent. So, as you explained earlier, the same kind of crossovers and pools thing exists on the women's side. So, the seeding on the women's side, we have Eclipse, number 1 out of BC. We have Wicked West, so Ottawa. Mofo out of Winnipeg. Toro out of Toronto. Vortex out of Surrey, BC, Helios, which is also the Kamloops Kelowna. They're sending a women's team as well. Mischief out of BC, and Titan out of Quebec. So that's your top 8. And then we have another two pools below that. And so let's break down pool 1 first. So we have Eclipse, Toro, Vortex, and Titan in that pool. How familiar are you with the women's side?
I mean, I know bits about the Toro girls. I've heard a lot of good things about the Eclipse girls because there was a bunch of them on your team, and that makes you wonder. But I think beyond that, I'll admit I don't know lots of what's been going on. I mean, I know that Wicked in Ottawa has been another program that's been building and building and building, and it's been very strong for a while now.
Yeah, for this pool specifically, like as you said, there were a bunch of kids on Eclipse that were on TC. 6 of them, 5 of them, I believe. Like a lot.
Well, and like ones who like played big roles on your team too. It's not like it was a bunch of people who were, role players. It was, some people who had some pretty big star turns in Poland there.
Oh, like our leading goal scorers? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, just a couple.
So I mean, I've said this publicly and to anyone that I think the final is probably going to be like 15-6. So, but I'll dive into that a little bit later. I think an exciting game in this pool. I'm excited to see Vortex versus Toro. Vortex handled most teams in BC very easily. They're a super athletic team. They're super hyped. They're super fun to watch. I think when they match up against Eclipse, it might just be like a little bit of fear or something, but they kind of lose a little bit of that mojo. So I think if they were to play against Toro, it would be a good test to see how good Vortex actually is, because it's so hard when you have a region where a team can like bagel teams and then also basically get bageled. Like the parity is kind of like all over the place. So I'm really excited to see the Vortex versus Toro matchup for that pool. So
I think that's the same one I had sort of highlighted on my list as if we feel like Eclipse is as strong as the rumors suggest, then that one's going to be a big matchup that could decide the team that doesn't have to go into a crossover game.
Yeah, that's true. It's a pretty tough number 1 seed for that pool. For pool B, we have Wicked, Mofo, Helios, and then Mischief. So any thoughts on this pool before I kind of do my takes?
I mean, I think Eric Hunter is the coach of Wicked, and was an assistant with TC Open. He'll probably be mad at me for saying that I think they're the favorite, but I think they're the favorite. Wicked's got some really good players. They played well at Ontario regionals, handled everybody pretty comfortably. I mean, it was a short tournament for the girls, but they beat Toro 11-8 in the final there, and I don't know. I feel like that sort of makes them an easy 2 seed in the whole division.
When you say favorite, you mean favorite to win the pool?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So I'm very excited to see the Helios versus Mofo matchup in this pool, because I think that they're going to play a similar style. Whenever I watch Helios play, they're chucking it. They're tall. They're aggressive. It's like a bunch of soccer basketball players that have converted into Ultimate. So I think it's going to be like a big girl matchup, and it's going to be really exciting. And Mischief, I've coached a lot of the kids on this Mischief team when I coached the team called the Ducks last year. So a lot of the team is quite young, like mostly grade 10s, and a couple of grade 11s and 12s kind of sprinkled in there. So when you have a young team like that, you can either crush or you're inconsistent. So they're definitely a kind of a scary 4 seed, I think, for that pool. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up breaking seed.
Yeah, I think they're one where I hear that, and I think you've got young people who don't necessarily know what the pressure of nationals is, but also that sometimes is an advantage because it means you don't know what you're up against, and then you just get there and you play Ultimate, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for a lot of, like, I don't think anyone on that team has ever been to CUCs. I mean, most of these kids probably haven't gone to CUCs on most of these teams, unless they were grade 9 and now they're grade 12. So it should be a fun time.
It's going to be a really small number, I think, at this nationals.
And I'm sure the energy will be electric. For Pool C, we have Void, which is a new team out of Surrey, Burnaby. It's the second team to Vortex. We have Storm from Newfoundland and Labrador, Red River Rebellion from Alberta, and then Wicked East. So Ottawa's B team.
Red River Rebellion's second team out of Winnipeg.
Oh my gosh, second team out of... See, I don't know my Canadian history.
Red River runs right through Winnipeg.
I know. I used to be a social studies teacher. Can you believe that? I wasn't very good. It's crazy.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second.
So I am very excited about this Void team. I think they're technically the number 2 team out of Surrey Burnaby, but they were originally going to be a regional team, and they were so strong, so aggressive, so competitive that they decided to kind of convert it into a touring team. So I definitely think that they have a chance to crack into the top 8, and I'm going to be following along with them closely. I don't really know much about any of these other teams, so if you have any insights, that would be lovely.
I don't know that I do. I'm curious about Void though, because like they didn't match up with every single team at BC regionals, and like it makes me wonder if they have an opportunity to jump somebody if they get an opportunity to play them in like a crossover or something.
Yeah, it would be very interesting. I think there's some players on that team that if they had actually filled out the tryout form properly, they might have actually made Vortex. So they have it's confusing.
Classic teenagers, right?
You see one's way more expensive than the other. You're like, oh, I want the cheaper one. And then you accidentally didn't choose touring. So it's kind of how it works. So I think the Void team isn't necessarily like a B team. So expect them to kind of make some noise. Now,
there you go.
Pool D, we have Origin, we have Wheaties and Rain. So Quebec City, Saskatchewan, and Richmond, BC represented here. I think from what little information I have, I think Quebec has been doing a phenomenal job of keeping juniors engaged over the pandemic. So I think that them in this pool might be the potential team to come out as an upset team. I don't know if you have any information about them. I bet you probably don't know much about Wheaties women's team either.
I know there's a couple people who played on our Uproar girls team, which is not a nationals team this year, who are joining Wheaties to help fill out their roster.
Oh.
But I don't know what that means for them. Other than it'll mean they have at least 14 players. Yeah. Doesn't Origin have one of your TC girls on it?
So from TC, one of our youngest players, if you saw any of our highlight photos or the highlight video that I made, she's the one skying people. She's the one like full extension laying out, keeping her toes just inside the line. She's incredible. So I know you talked about this earlier, but one player being able to make an impact on a juniors team, Mai is definitely the person who can do a lot on the field. So that is.
I feel like that's a matchup that then I might, looking at going into a crossover, be like, well, here we go.
I know. We talked.
That might be a team to watch then.
The TC matchups before, like all of the Clips girls are like, oh well, Wicked has 3 TC girls, and then the BC team's like, well, we've got 6, so we'll just you three will take them, and then when they're on this line, us three will take them. And so it's been some funny having some inter-team Canada, like friendly trash talking. You know what I mean? Like healthy.
It's because they love each other. They want to compete with each other.
And it's a little bit of fear. It's fear from both of them. I think Eclipse, it's hard to be the team with all of the expectations. And we found this with our Team Canada teams, I think, anyways. And it's easier, I think, to go into a tournament being a little bit of the underdog. But I know that Eclipse kind of, especially on the women's side, everybody's putting them up on a pedestal right now, including me. And that's a hard position to be in as a junior. It's hard to that.
When you come in and you've got a bit of a target on your back, and everybody comes into any matchup with you trying to give you their best game. Like you don't get a game off when you come in as the favorite.
Yeah, and every time someone does anything against you, they're super excited. So every time they
just so pumped up.
Yes. So that wraps it up. If you have any last thoughts about either the Open or the women's division, I know it all starts on Monday. So if you're listening to this and you're going to that event, good luck. I hope you get lots of sleep. Hope you're nice to your coaches, especially if they're named Rob.
I think, like I said earlier, I'm so excited that the event's happening again. I think there's a lot of people who are really looking forward to getting back out there. And if you're not someone who's going, tune into live streams, support the players. They've all worked really, really hard to be prepared to come to this. And, they deserve the support of the community because they're the future of the community. And we want to make sure that they keep playing.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. So thank you so much, Rob, for joining me. It was
thank you for having me.
Talk to a human than talk to myself, even though I love my own company. So I really appreciate having you on, and best of luck for you and your team. But not too much luck because I want Vancouver to win, but enough luck that you can break seed, which was your goal.
I'm just making sure that we've got your prediction on the bulletin board and on the sideline.
It's my
all tournament long. Yep.
Danie
doesn't believe.
I mean, I sort of believe. I just I'm on the Vancouver hype train. I love those kids. They're dope. So yeah, thanks everybody. If you're listening to this and you're going, good luck, rest up, thank a coach, work hard, be a good sideline more than anything, and we'll see you on the other side.
Peace.